pity the fool who's going to be using that toilet next. Oh, hello there. I didn't see you there. It's almost as if this camera wasn't perfectly seated next to the toilet in the family restroom of this building. Okay, that's exactly what this is. But this is the Grinch here, welcoming you to Time About the Christmas #2. Last year, I did a video compilation of all the Time About the Movies episodes featuring Christmas movies from 1989 to 1999. And now that another year has gone, this is the clips from 2000 to 2006. So sit back, relax, and enjoy however long this compilation is of classic Christmas movie reviews, starting with my personal favorite film, and that is, of course, the Jim Carrey How the Grinch Stole Christmas, directed by Ron Howard.
Grinch. Jim Carrey is the Grinch.
Yeah, I don't think I really need to tell you what the story is of this movie. I mean, it's pretty much what you think it is. It's a story about the Grinch, played by Jim Carrey, who is a nasty creature that hates Christmas and plots to steal it away from the Who's, who love it so much. And they add new elements to it this time around by making Cindy Lou Who more of a character in this one. Like, she's a little bit older than she was in the animated short and in the book. She wants to know what Christmas is all about and why the Grinch hates it so much. And it's part of the many things that they add to this movie. So, like I said, this was directed by Ron Howard, produced by him and Brian Grazer. And it was a big success when it came out. It was the #1 movie at the box office for the majority of the Christmas 2000 season, grossing over $345 million worldwide. It won the Oscar for Best Makeup, which, I mean, come on. I mean, even if you didn't like the movie, the makeup in this movie is kind of pretty awesome, especially on the Grinch. But was also nominated for art decoration and costume design. So with all that in the record books, people often choose the animated special over the movie. And honestly, what can I say about that? I mean, that's the original animated one. The '66 one is still the definitive version of the Grinch, no matter what happens here. But does that mean this one's an all-around mess, as bad as everyone makes it out to be? Let's take a look at it as a whole first, before we can really delve into my overall final thoughts on the film. Let's look at the positives first. The city of Whoville looks pretty cool. It's very reminiscent of the book and the animated special, and even Mount Whoville's looks are impressively similar to the book and the cartoon. You can definitely tell the filmmakers wanted to make something that looks as close to the Seuss book as they could, and I thought they did a pretty good job with it. Second, when the film follows the story and doesn't focus on the newer additions to the plot, it does its job pretty well. It pays a good homage to the original story. There are some new additions that I did think kind of work. I liked the fact that we found out the real reason why the Grinch hated Christmas so much in the Who's. It's because the Who's made fun of him, and he basically just swore him off after a really bad experience around Christmas time. And then there are other new additions that are really bad, but we'll get to those later on. Lastly, I think Jim Carrey's perfectly cast as the Grinch. He just fits that role well, acting-wise, and in the way the character looks. You could easily see why the Oscar for Best Makeup went to him that year, because that guy had that on for so many hours a day, had to put it on for a number of hours beforehand, and like, for anybody to go through that, I mean, you have to give those people credit for making that work, and especially Jim Carrey, for making that work as well as it could be. I mean, better than the casting of people that they were going to get for this. Like, literally, they were going to get Jack Nicholson and Eddie Murphy for the role of the Grinch, which, yeah, that would have been very, very, wouldn't have been great. Would not have been great indeed. I think Anthony Hopkins' narration also is a nice touch added to here, and I do like Taylor Momsen as Cindy Lou Who. I think it's a nice addition to her, having her more of a role in this, so she's the only Who character you end up really giving a crap about, which brings me to a lot of the negative points of the film, and trust me, there is a lot of them. It starts with the fact that the good majority of the Who's are way too meaner than they should be. I mean, in the original short and books, The Who's love Christmas as a time for family and friends to be there, but here, they just look at Christmas as a time to give presents, win lighting contests, and everything against the true meaning of Christmas. I mean, they have to add to this expanded story. I get it, but there are better ways you could have kept the spirit of the original book and the cartoon than this. I mean, I think that's something that the Illumination film did a lot better, which I'll talk about that towards the end here. But in addition, as great as the makeup is, the Who's look really weird. Like the noses they put on them are just really pointless. The Who's look like normal people except for their hairstyles. I mean, was there a purpose for this change? Because I certainly don't see it. A lot of the newer things they add to the movie are completely pointless, but the one segment that I absolutely despise, I think it's the most pointless segment in the whole movie, it's the Whobilation sequence. It's an entire 30-minute sequence, a half an hour where they have this huge celebration. Cindy Lou invites the Grinch down to the party, and he accepts, and it looks like he finally has a reason to be happy until the mayor who bullied the Grinch as a child proposes to Martha May, played by Christine Baranski, who the Grinch had a crush on as a kid, and thus causes the Grinch to cause havoc around the town and go back to the way it was before the party, thus creating the ultimate waste of time I have ever seen in a movie. Like, literally, nothing changes between the start of that segment to the end, and it has absolutely no purpose to the story, and you could have taken it out. So you wouldn't have 30 extra minutes that are completely pointless. It's the ultimate waste of time, and one of the reasons why the movie plays for 2.5 hours on TV stations during the holidays, it serves no purpose to the story. You really could have just gotten rid of that whole sequence. Nobody would have noticed anything. It's one of the stupidest sequences that the film felt like it needed to have, and it shouldn't have been added to the film whatsoever. I mean, it's just, again, the Illumination one did it better because it didn't have to add that long segment of pointlessness. Like, there's a Whobilation scene in that movie, but it's very short and sweet, kind of gets to the point of what they're trying to establish here and just moves on. And, like, it's a span of, 5-10 minutes maybe, but this is completely ridiculous. And, yeah, this movie has a ton of flaws to it, but in terms of the other Dr. Seuss adaptations that have been released, like, Cat in the Hat and then Horton Hears a Who and the Lorax, this is still the second best of the four, next to Horton Hears a Who. Actually, third best, probably, because I go back and forth. Okay, it's kind of hard to go back and forth on which Grinch version I like, because, yeah, I like the Illumination Grinch a lot. I actually, for the longest time, thought it was their best overall film as a studio. But, the more I think about it, yeah, I would say the animated 2018 Grinch movie was better. That was probably the best movie of the Dr. Seuss films that we've had in the 21st century. But again, nothing ever tops the original film, like the original short. Like, nothing will ever top that. The 2018 Grinch is probably the best one we've gotten since then, and this would probably be in third. But then again, I would rather take the Benedict Cumberbatch one and this one over the Mike Myers Cat in the Hat, which is a horrible movie, and then Dr. Seuss's The Lorax, which is a hypocritical mess and in my top 30 least favorite movies of all time. But this would definitely be up there. I think there is a lot more to this that I actually really do admire about it. I like the music by James Horner. I just watched it again during the holiday season. The scenes, there are visually impressive scenes to look at, and Carrey really does put all of his effort into it. I mean, it has warrant to it, but like I said, when it sticks to the original story, it's done very well. From casting Jim Carrey as the title character, the look of the film, some of the new additions they add do work, but more times than not, it doesn't work. Everything else kind of falls flat big time. It's a movie that you could have easily taken huge chunks out of, and you would have had a watchable movie, but it's one of those ones where it's just it's certainly not a bad movie, but it's definitely not a good movie either. It's a very mixed bag of a film. It's certainly a movie that I wouldn't say is one of the great Christmas movies, but if it's on TV every once in a year, I will pop it on. But like I said, I do like the 2018 Grinch one more, even though there are elements to that one I don't really like as much. I think, comparing Grinches, I think Jim Carrey's Grinch is better than Benedict Cumberbatch's Grinch, because the Grinch in that one really is not a guy that really hates Christmas. He just hates people, and yet, despite that, he still is more than willing to go down to the town to go get groceries and interact with some people that he really doesn't like. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. He's kind of an introvert in that case, but in terms of a story, it works better there, but here, I will say Jim Carrey's the better Grinch over Cumberbatch, but I thought it was alright. I think it's a good movie. Once every Christmas, it's fine to watch, but never anything afterwards.
We
interrupt this broadcast for a special weather bulletin. The snow continues to fall. All schools, all stores, all roads will be closed until further notice. In other words, we're snowed in.
What? Oh, no!
Of course, Mickey. If we're snowed in, how are we supposed to get home to our families?
Aw, don't worry, fellas. You've got family right here. All of us.
I always wanted a duck for a brother. Oh!
Join Mickey Mouse and all your favorite Disney friends in a full-length animated movie, Mickey's Magical Christmas, Snowed In at the House of Mouse. Now available on video and Disney DVD.
So this is the first of 2 movies based off of the Disney series that they had at the time, The House of Mouse, with everybody from the Disney Animation Library all together. They go to a night. Mickey Mouse has a nightclub, and Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Daisy, Goofy, all of them run it, and you see all these great Disney, the classic library of Disney characters there watching a show and watching classic cartoons. And basically, the storyline is that everyone's snowed in at the House of Mouse. Mickey suggests they throw their own Christmas party, and everyone is happy except for Donald, who just isn't in the Christmas spirit. So Mickey shows a series of cartoons that shows just what Christmas is all about. And, I mean, it's really just a compilation film, really, because most of the stuff is from the Mickey Mouse Works TV series. There's 2 classic cartoons. There's Pluto's Christmas Tree, and then they show Mickey's Christmas Carol in full. And this was actually one of 2 compilation movies that came out on the same day. Recess had a Christmas movie as well, and I was going to bring that up as well, but I figured I might as well just talk about it here, because there's not really much more to say about that one, except that it's basically the same thing, a compilation film with, like, classic Recess episodes, and then they show the Christmas episode in there. I mean, it's pretty much the same thing as this, and yeah, it seems kind of pointless, but at the same time, there are moments where it does hold up nicely. I mean, yeah, half the time you're watching classic Mickey Mouse cartoons, but at the same time, they're good Mickey Mouse cartoons. Like I really like the Nutcracker cartoon they have in here. I like the fact that they have Pluto's Christmas Tree in here, as well as Mickey's Christmas Carol. Well, that's one I still watch every Christmas. And, you know, like I said, it's still great to see all these classic Disney characters in one room. I mean, it's a really, really cool, well-done concept. And, it's a shame the House of Mouse still isn't available on Disney Plus, which is shocking to think about it, since this show still has a lasting memory with a lot of people, and this movie has a lasting memory with a lot of people. It has a great little song at the end featuring all of them singing that is very well done. It's a really fun little Christmas movie. It's one that I don't watch every year, but it's one that every once in a while I'll go back to. I mean, it's good for what it is. It's a really well done film. Nothing too special, nothing too exciting, but it delivers what it promises. It's a nice little Christmas gift that every once in a while is worth a watch during the holiday season. Maybe not once every year, but I like it. I think it's fun. So that's Mickey's Magical Christmas, Snowed at the House of Mouse.
Somewhere in the Arctic
Hold it! I'm getting something on the sonar!
dwells a legend
I'm getting strong readings from the cap rock, sir!
waiting for the day
What is it?
he'll come to town. He's the greatest Santa the world has ever known.
I love what you guys do, thinking outside the box.
Thanks, Santa. You're the man.
Well, they gave me the big belly.
He's made his list and checked it twice, but he forgot to
The
read
single most important detail in the history of Christmas.
the fine print.
I've got to get married? Yes, it's Mrs. Claus.
Walt Disney Pictures presents Tim Allen,
I don't think there's a woman out there that doesn't want a piece of this.
The Santa Claus 2.
Well, it's technically not called the Mrs. Claus, even though it is in the trailer. And sometimes I think the original title was actually Santa Claus 2, the Mrs. Claus, but then they took the Mrs. Claus out of it. But the movie clearly is about the Mrs. Claus is being part of the big storyline here, as Scott Calvin, once again played by Tim Allen, has been Santa Claus for a couple of years now, but now he has to deal with a number of different things. He has to deal with his son, who has now become a teenager and has become more of a nuisance to his school, and not only that, Scott has to find somebody to marry him as part of the deal to become Santa Claus. As it says on the card in the trailer there, it's the Mrs. Claus, where he basically decides to fall in love with Scott's principal or teacher. I can't remember what was. I think it's a principal. Yeah, principal. Elizabeth Mitchell, who you've seen in a number of different things, most notably Lost. And while this is going on, Scott basically decides to create a robotic Santa in his place while he's doing this. And then there's these other elements too, like we get to see all the holiday figures that meet up every once in a while. They've added them into here, and you got Mother Nature, played by Aisha Tyler, Father Time, played by Peter Boyle, the Easter Bunny, played by Jay Thomas, Kevin Pollak plays Cupid, Michael Dorn is Sandman. I mean, there's all these different elements being added into this movie, which, in the long run, does hurt the film overall when it's all said and done. I don't think this is as good of a sequel as I think they wanted to. There's definitely too much story going on in this particular movie, but in the film's defense, there are elements to it where it does actually have a lot of different unique ideas to it. Like, I like the idea of seeing the North Pole like this, because it was very different compared to what was in the first movie. You can definitely tell there is more of an emphasis on adding a little bit more design to the world of the North Pole. Like, feels like kind of the inspiration was taken from a little bit of some of the Rankin Bass stuff, which, something like the Rankin Bass, not like how Elf would do it a year later, but you could definitely tell that there was more emphasis on making the North Pole look more legitimate, like look more than just a regular place out in the middle of nowhere. And it does lead to some really cool ideas, really interesting elements to it. Like, I love the idea that, anytime a plane flies through and and everybody in the North Pole notices that, they're basically just like, they have to figure out how to keep the noise down and all that to make it sound like there's nothing there. Like, I like that kind of idea that they have in here. And I do like the idea of Scott having to figure out how to woo this woman, even though he's already been married before, but now he has to do this again, knowing for the fact that if he does it, he basically doesn't become Santa anymore. And it does lead to a lot of ideas that really, like, there are definitely a lot of story elements in this particular movie that definitely fall flat. Like, there's too much stuff going on in this movie, and it really does feel like they're trying too hard to appeal strictly to the kids. Like, they have characters that are specifically in this movie to be like little distractions for the kids. Like, there's a reindeer named Chet who is very, very much very much a rookie reindeer in the making. He's not really all that. Like, he's not as memorable. Like, he's not as not memorable. He's not as what do I want to say here? He's essentially a reindeer in training. Like, he's supposed to be like character that the kids can relate to. While you also have this other kid character played by Lillian Mooney, who was also Myrtle in the Lilo and Stitch movies, as this other character that you're also having the kids kind of be behind. And it definitely does feel like they're adding a little bit too much more into the film to kind of keep you. It's more distracting than I think they're trying to let on. It's something that I feel like if they had truncated it down a little bit, maybe the movie could have been something as good as the original film. But like I said, it's not a bad movie. It just has those elements there where they put the effort to try to make this better than the original film and show more of a production value is definitely there. But the story and adding some elements to the film that really does not add up to it really does make you more confused than entertained from what you're seeing. I mean, there's a lot of elements in here where they add so many different characters and different stories, side plots going on here that they just don't feel like they add to the overall fun factor of the film. Like, it's one of those movies where, as much as I like the first Santa Claus movie enough, but the sequels, this is probably the second best one of the series, with the third one being the weakest of the three. And it's not like they're not trying here. You can definitely see that they are clearly trying to have something here that's a little bit of an evolution from the original film, but it just doesn't quite have that spark that the first movie had. Like, you could still go back and look at that first movie and still find a lot of elements in there that make that movie work as well as it does. But here, those elements are still there sporadically. They're not all over they're not as much all over the place, and the stuff that they do try to add to it does kind of fall apart pretty quickly, and it does kind of ruin the ebb and flow of the enjoyment factor of the movie. So for the most part, I thought the sequel was just okay, but unlike the first film, where it's one I'd watch more on occasion once every holiday season, this is one that I kind of watch every other couple of years or something like that. Like, it's not a top priority when I'm looking through the movies that I have to watch every single year for the holidays. Not even the third film, honestly. But if it's on, if there's nothing else on during the holiday season, it's definitely something that I would say I'd probably watch once every couple of years, but I wouldn't make it a top priority to watch every Christmas like I would do with the first film. But that's just my personal take on Santa Claus 2's
holiday. Santa's going from the North Pole to South Central.
Damn!
Forget what the calendar says.
We just got jacked by Santa Claus.
This year, Christmas falls on Friday.
Tell your fine daddy I said,
Yeah! Right here is one of my little Spice Girls. Ho, ho, ho.
No, it ain't your booty. It's your beauty.
Friday after next. Rated R. Starts November 22nd.
So yeah, around this time, New Line thought, we have a third film in the series. You know what we need to do? Make it Christmas. I mean, we need to make it Christmas because that's where the real money comes into play. Because they did it with this. They did it with Harold and Kumar, even though Harold and Kumar actually put another element to it that was actually pretty cool. This, it's an interesting decision to go, and I'll give it this. It's slightly better than Next Friday is. So in this one, you have Craig and Day Day, once again played by Ice Cube and Mike Epps. They're getting jobs as security guards at a shopping center when a robber dressed as Santa Claus breaks into their apartment, steals their presents, and the rent money that is to be given to their landlady. And the film takes place over the course of a day where they're working at the strip mall as security guards, and then they have this big party with Money Mike from the last movie, played by Cat Williams. John Witherspoon's back in this one, so is Anna Marie Horsford. They add in people like Ricky Smiley as the robber, Samore as Cookie, who was basically was Elroy's latest girlfriend after he and Sugar broke up in the last movie. Joel McKinnon Miller, you've seen him on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, is in here as one of the cops. Terry Crews, one of his early film roles. There are a lot of elements of this film where it probably should not work, but truth be told, this is the one Friday movie that I watch after the first one that I watch more than I do with Next Friday. Because Next Friday wasn't a bad movie per se, but it was your typical comedy sequel. Let's just do the same story we did the last time around. At least this one has a little bit of an edge to it. They're not waiting for Tiny Zeus Lister to come back and kill Craig. No, this time they're going after this Santa robber, and actually leads to a lot of the really funny moments of the movie. Like there's a great moment where towards the end where Craig and Day Day finally get to the Santa and they beat the hell out of him, and there's this wild chase all throughout the neighborhood trying to catch him, and it goes through these chaotic, insane levels of situations where you have Mike Epps as a dual role, who's this old guy who's just going gun crazy at one point during the whole thing. It's just like so much happens in this movie that I'm not going to say it's on par with the first Friday movie. The first Friday movie was just a simple film, a simple day in the life of this guy who, he loses his job on his day off and has to eventually fight off against the big bully of the neighborhood, and also has to basically decide whether or not to take one route, which could be devastating for the neighborhood, or just do something completely different. And it's one of those movies that still holds up, and it features maybe one of my favorite movie scenes of all time that I've talked long and hard about already. But in this movie here, it's more simple. It's more on the same levels as Next Friday, but I think it's done a lot better than Next Friday is. I think it's a film that does try to do things that are very different compared to the last movie. They aren't just rehashing the same plot over again. There's more laughs in this movie, I think. It's not a classic by any means necessary, but in terms of the Friday films in general, this is probably the one I watch more than Next Friday. Next Friday I don't think is bad, but this is the film that I just feel like is slightly better than the last movie. It's, again, not a classic by any means, but in terms of all three films, this is probably the second most watched one I've watched out of all three of them. This is the one I would say, I think you do get a lot more in this particular film than you do with Next Friday, but no matter what I say, Friday I think is still the topper. Nothing else will really top that. And honestly, nothing else from the series really ever topped that. The Friday animated series they did with about a couple of years later was really lackluster and didn't even feel like a real Friday series in general, except the fact they got John Witherspoon back in that series, and Ice Cube's always been talking about going back and doing another Friday film. I mean, I would have said no before I saw Barbershop: The Next Cut, which is one of those sequels where, I talk about all the time how I have this thing about comedy sequels. If you wait too long after doing the last one, it probably is just time to, stop, quit while you're ahead. Kind of like with what Ben Stiller just recently said something about Zoolander 2, where he thought that people wanted Zoolander 2 so badly, but, somebody needed to tell him that, people wanted the Zoolander movie 2 years after the first movie came out, not 15 years later. You gotta strike while the iron is hot, and with the Friday films, they struck while the iron was hot for the most part. Trying to do another one over 20 years later seems like it's really going to be hard to top what you did before. Unless, but then again, he did this with Barbershop: The Next Cut, and Barbershop: The Next Cut actually turned out to be a really good movie, even though that was a 12-year gap between films. So maybe it's not possible. Maybe it's not impossible to actually do this. Not impossible. I've just turned into Ralph Wiggum from The Simpsons. Me fail English? That's impossible. I mean, it's like I've been saying, it's not impossible that this could actually work out, considering what he did with Barbershop. So, and I also heard he's going to try to get Chris Tucker back for this one. So maybe it's got a shot. Maybe if it actually happens, I'm surely going to check it out to see if it actually works. But if it doesn't come out and actually happen, I'm not going to mind it so much. But like I said, Friday After Next, I think it's still the second best of the Friday films in general. I think it's fun for what it is. Don't go in there don't expect to go in there looking for the first movie again. Expect a sequel that is better than the last film, though. I'll give you that.
Is it time for giving or sharing? For Adam Sandler. On November 27th,
I'm scared.
you're invited to get ready for the battle between naughty and nice.
Saving the kiss. Nobody needs a unibrow.
Oh my gosh. Adam Sandler's 8 Crazy Nights. See something? Just some deer doing a pyramid. Rated PG-13. In theaters November 27th.
That's a way to sell the movie. Show a reindeer eating shit. Because that's literally what that scene is from. So you can kind of see why this movie has a very puzzling reaction from most people. Adam Sandler basically stars as a 33-year-old party animal, finds himself in trouble with the law after his wild ways go too far, and in keeping with the holiday spirit, the judge gives Davey one last chance of redemption with this guy named Whitey Duvall, who's also voiced by Adam Sandler. And, things don't go as they should at first, and you start to think that maybe he's going to turn it around, and then gotta have the third act breakup, and then it's going to be the moment where he realizes that maybe I am an asshole, and maybe I do need to change my ways, but, you kind of know where the story's going to go from here. And you got to remember something about this time period. We just talked about it with Treasure Planet. 2002 was the beginning of the downward spiral for hand-drawn animation at the box office. I mean, it wasn't that big threat anymore because CG was slowly but surely beginning to creep up again. And the technology for CG was getting better and better. Disney had released Treasure Planet, which ended up becoming a financial failure for them. And the fact that somebody was going to do an Adam Sandler comedy using animation in the style of like the classic TV specials and all that, it's always going to be a risky experiment to work with. And naturally, a lot of people were not too receptive to this movie. I mean, it did decent numbers at the box office, but considering what Adam Sandler's movies usually do, they were probably expecting something more in the lines of what Mr. Deeds or Big Daddy did. But it's also been considered one of the worst Christmas movies of all time, but not only that, one of the worst animated movies of all time. And truth be told, I can't really disagree with them on that front. It is not that great of a film, but I've seen far worse than this movie, and honestly, I think the movie does actually work a lot better than most people probably would give it credit for. For one thing, it's unusually gorgeous. Like, this is a film that really, this animation studio that put the film together really actually tried and made a lot of effort to make this look as great as it could be, but considering what else is going into it, like, it's too good looking for a movie of this caliber. And I give Adam Sandler a lot of credit here. For the most part, he's doing a pretty good job of, ranging his voice a little bit. Maybe not with Whitey, because Whitey's just him going at the high-pitched voice, but Eleanor, I thought he did a pretty good job of changing his voice around to get that impression that it is indeed somebody else. I mean, it wasn't the greatest overall, but at least he was trying, at least with her. But the songs themselves are also surprisingly really good too. They're catchy songs, and they're nicely handled with a good score by Teddy Castellucci. And you have the Ellises, Mark and Ray Ellis, who the latter actually worked with Filmation in the past on, I guess, on music too. But it's kind of amazing how much these songs hold up. Now, of course, the songs in the film, I mean, there are, like, I just talked about the songs, what am I talking about? There are negatives I can agree with most people on. For one thing, neither Davy nor Whitey are kind of likable characters, and you try to find sympathy with these guys, but each of them gets so annoying, and they just have no charisma to them whatsoever. And you watch both of them and get this feeling like these two deserve everything that they're getting to them. And like, Davy's too much of a crazed, drunken idiot. Excuse me. that you have no real sympathy for. I mean, yeah, his parents are dead, but you know what? Doesn't mean you have to have some likability to you. And Whitey's too much of a weakling that just can't stand up for himself, that by the end, you never feel like that satisfaction that his reward is fully justified. Like, you know, everybody's giving him their patches and all. Like you don't really buy into it. The biggest problem with the movie is that it's padded out for no reason whatsoever. And it's 76 minutes long, and there's padding in this. And by padding, I'm talking about the padding that was just in the 2018 Grinch movie, which is a movie I like, and I think is a much better film, but it's where you put them... Actually, no, this is not the 2018... This is not the 2018 Grinch I'm thinking about. This is the 2000s Grinch I'm thinking about. It's pulling that BS again. Like I said before, I like the 2018 Grinch, and I like the 2000 Grinch too, but they do this thing where you think the main hero's finally going to turn around and be a good guy, and then somebody brings up the past, and he snaps and goes back to his old ways, and the entire segment that came beforehand proves absolutely pointless. In that 2000 Grinch movie, that took up 30 minutes of the runtime. This thing is much shorter than that, and it still felt like you just wasted your time doing absolutely nothing. They do that here. You know, Whitey brings up the tragic story about how his parents were killed in a black ice accident. And Davy, who had been reformed at this point, goes back to his douchebag ways with the stories brought up again, you know, making the last 10 minutes of the movie 100% pointless. I mean, you could have taken that out of the movie and nothing would have been lost. And I know what you're thinking. Wouldn't that take away from the purpose of the movie? Well, yeah, but again, fill that time up with something more interesting and exciting. But no, we can't do that. We've got to go down the cliched route, and the movie suffers because of it. And you, like I said before, it doesn't help that you have no sympathy for either of the two main characters here, Davy or Whitey, whatsoever. I don't think this movie is bad, but it definitely is a film that has a lot of flaws to it. I don't think it deserves the huge backlash it gets. It's got its moments that make it somewhat watchable, but it does hurt a lot, and it definitely hurts the film overall. And it's a film that, if it's part of an AMC, you know how AMC does that Christmas thing now, and it'll usually show up on there, if there's literally nothing else on, I'll pop it in and watch it. But other than that, though, it's just one of those ones where I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be, but it's got a lot of notable flaws to it. It's a movie that I kind of have a little bit of a soft spot for it, but at the same time, I completely agree with a lot of the people's criticisms about the movie. It is not a great film by any means necessary, but it's one of those ones I kind of go back to every once in a while. There's nothing else on TV, I'll just watch that movie, and I usually will come out feeling okay about it, but yeah, the story overall is just really one of the biggest problems with the film in general, and among with other things as well. But so yeah, 8 Crazy Nights here.
This fall, premiering only on Disney DVD and video. Winnie the Pooh and all of his friends in a brand new full-length adventure. Disney's Winnie the Pooh, A Very Merry Pooh Year. Come along as we take a sneak peek at the family holiday event of the season. This special full-length movie is a heartwarming journey of lifelong friends. Learn the value of resolution. Resolutions.
Resolutions. It's a promise to be a better person in the new year.
Share the spirit of Christmas and New Year's with the ones you love, featuring newly recorded holiday songs. Join the celebration of friendship.
We are going to bring Christmas to everyone.
In Disney's Winnie the Pooh, A Very Merry Pooh Year. Coming November 12th, 2002.
So kind of like with Seasons of Giving, this is kind of a rehashing of various things. But unlike Seasons of Giving, which was literally a rehashing of various things, like the Winnie the Pooh specials, the Thanksgiving special, and a couple of episodes of the TV show, they rehashed the Winnie the Pooh Christmas special, Winnie the Pooh and Christmas 2. Except in this case, they play the special as it is, except that Christopher Robin's not the same voice actor from the original version of it. They actually redubbed his voice, which, to be fair, he's not in it for a whole lot, but it's still very noticeable when you really think about it. But they do add another short here, which is Happy Pooh, which is basically where Winnie the Pooh and the gang, they decide that, to kind of get off Rabbit's case for a little bit here, they basically decide to try new personalities. So, Pooh basically vows to never eat honey again, Piglet agrees to be brave, Tigger vows to not bounce anymore, and Eeyore promises to be more positive, and they basically have these situations where they switch personalities. I mean, Pooh literally becomes gloomy and downbeat like Eeyore, Piglet becomes zany and bouncy like Tigger, Eeyore develops a taste for honey, Tigger becomes paranoid like Piglet. I mean, a clever, fun idea overall when you really look at it, and I mean, I'll give them credit for at least some originality to it, and like I said, it's better than the other movie, mostly because it does do stuff that's different from the last movie, and you also get kind of a sneak preview of Carly Simon's music that she brings into the upcoming Pooh theatrical film, because this is the first time you hear her involved with a Pooh production, and she would be involved with Piglet's big movie, and then later Pooh's Heffalump movie, so there is that as well. So overall, it's a good, fun little film. I mean, it definitely has a lot more to offer than Seasons of Giving, but then again, most of the Pooh movies have something fun to give to the audience that's watching it. So, yeah, not much more to say about that one. Winnie the Pooh, A Very Merry Pooh Year. As you can see, now we're starting to get into some of the good stuff that came out this weekend, and we have one of the two Christmas movies that went on to become classics in their own rights. And it's interesting to think about Elf for a second here, because you look at the budget, $33 million doesn't seem like it's that much that this film can't make it back on. I mean, especially when you also consider that, it's a Christmas movie, and the next couple of weeks, everyone's going to be rushing out to the theaters to see the newest big family film, and there was a lot of risk with this particular film, specifically with the leading star, Will Ferrell. It was his first big film as the leading man after leaving Saturday Night Live for 7 years and having his breakout role earlier in the year in the comedy Old School, where he had a supporting role. But here, it's his puppy right here. He's the leading guy on there. He's all over the posters. He's the main guy on the main credits. So there was a lot of high expectations for him to not only succeed with this film, but, prove that, hey, he's got a future in film, and sure enough, he went on to have a very successful film career starting with this. I mean, there was a point between 2003 and 2007 where he really was a top draw at the box office, maybe even longer than that, too, 2008, because I keep forgetting that, Semi-Pro was not a big hit, but Step Brothers was a big hit, although I do approve of Semi-Pro more than Step Brothers. Probably one of the few things I could say, probably one of the few controversies about Will Ferrell's movies in general, but we'll eventually get to those ones when we get to 2008, of course. But the story here is that you have Will Ferrell as Buddy, a human raised by Santa's elves who learns about his origins and heads to New York City to meet his biological father, played by James Caan. And, James Caan is not in the Christmas spirit, and of course Will Ferrell is filled with the Christmas spirit. He ends up falling in love with Zooey Deschanel. James Caan's wife is Mary Steenburgen. Santa's played by Ed Asner, and Bob Newhart is his elf father. And this is directed by Jon Favreau, and this was also a gamble for him because this is his first time tackling a big project like this after Swingers and Made, and the results have spoken for themselves. Not only did this film become a massive hit when it came out, it has become a Christmas classic in many, many ways, spawning musicals, which actually led to a stop-motion animated spin-off movie on NBC a couple years ago, which that's a really underrated movie. It has Jim Parsons as the voice of Buddy in there. Highly recommend checking that out, especially if you love the original Elf. And at times, Elf can seem like it may go over the edge because the character can be annoying at times, but he's a kid at heart. I mean, this is a guy that has lived his entire life in the North Pole. He doesn't know how most humans act in the real world, and the film does a good job of keeping the tones keeping it at an even pace where Will Ferrell isn't going over the top insane for no particular reason. He's doing it because he doesn't know any better. He's been stuck in a place where he could be a kid for most of his life, and now he's got to come to the real world and realize that he has to become an adult. And I love the way that the film translates that. And also, James Caan, this curmudgeon, has to learn to find the kid in himself again. And it's a really good movie. It's a fun film overall. The comedy can be really funny, and there's a good cast involved in here. And it was my introduction to Zooey Deschanel, who I've always been a fan of. Not only is she a good actress, but the girl can sing. I mean, this is a film where you realize this is why Zooey Deschanel is such a great actress, a great personality in general, because she's a great actress. She can sing and that's always great when you can both act and sing really well. And case in point here, but her chemistry with Will Ferrell works well enough that the film really does have that sentimentation as a Christmas classic. And yeah, in a time when, there wasn't like Christmas, it's very hard to get a Christmas classic of this caliber anymore. We've had movies where they received well, have had lasting legacies throughout television over the last couple of years, including like the criminally underrated Arthur Christmas. Then there's been times when they've tried to make hits out of his Christmas classics and hasn't worked out quite well, but you still see him playing on TV every year, like Fred Claus, Four Christmases, Christmas with the Kranks. But this is one where, in the last 20 years, this is the one that has been played on TV the most. It's the one that's been hailed as one of the great Christmas movies of all time, and it's kind of hard not to see why. It does everything right. It never goes over the boundaries where it can get really annoying really fast. It's a perfectly even balanced film. I mean, what more can I say, man? Elf is a classic film. I can't recommend it enough. Speaking of Christmas classics, let's go ahead and take a look at the last one we have here, which is a Christmas classic in its own right, and that is Love Actually.
The holiday season. It's the perfect time of year to find the one you love.
Christmas is time to do something about it.
Like what?
And tell them exactly how you feel.
You've got nothing to lose, and you'll always regret it if you don't.
Don't let the holidays go by without Love Actually. Rated R.
I mean, a movie where it feels like a chick flick. It feels like a film that nobody outside of the female target audience could really get into, but it's a film that appeals to everybody. I mean, this is a film that is just so perfectly handled in the way that it does tell the story. You essentially have a series of little, and it's kind of like an anthology, sort of, but you have a cast that includes some of the biggest names around. I mean, let me just read the names off of here. Hugh Grant, Liam Neeson, Colin Firth, Laura Linney, Emma Thompson, Alan Rickman, Keira Knightley, Martine McCutcheon, Bill Nighy, Rowan Atkinson. That's just some of the names on here. There's names on here that I didn't even mention that are notable names, like Chiwetel Ejiofor, Andrew Lincoln, why can't I remember his name from The Walking Dead? God. I don't want to have to look it up. I don't want to have to look it up. Come on. It's going to come in there, damn it. Rick Grimes. Good Lord. I knew the name. I just couldn't remember it. Yeah, he's in here too. Who else is in here? Liam Neeson's son, the girl that she falls in love with is actually Olivia Olsen from Phineas and Ferb. But you also have, you've got, January Jones, Alicia Cuthbert, Ivana Milcevic, Shannon Elizabeth, Martin Freeman. Did I mention Rowan Atkinson? No, I didn't. Rowan Atkinson's in here, too. He doesn't have a whole lot to do, but his one scene is memorable. Rodrigo Santoro, Xerxes from 300 is in here. Thomas Sangster, Liam Neeson's kid. You've seen him in a bunch of stuff. He's Ferb on Phineas and Ferb. He's also in Game of Thrones. He's in the Maze Runner movie. He's Billy Bob Thornton. There's just a phenomenal cast involved in this movie. I haven't even gotten to the actual plot of the film, which, like I said, it's an anthology film, kind of, where you delve into different aspects of love as shown through 10 separate stories, including a variety of individuals, many of them who are interlinked as the plot progresses. It begins 5 weeks before Christmas, as it's played out in a weekly countdown until the holiday, followed by an epilogue that takes place in the new year. And you could say that this kind of helped to launch the ensemble romantic comedies that led us to the lesser ones, like the Gary Marshall ones, Valentine's Day, New Year's Eve, Mother's Day, but unlike those pieces of shit, this is actually a smartly written, well-acted, and overall very romantic comedy. I mean, this is the ensemble cast in here just works so well together. All the chemistries and the stories that they have here are all perfectly handled very well. They don't fall into the typical romantic comedy cliches, and when they do, it's written very well, and that's what you get when you have a guy like Richard Curtis involved here. You know, this is a guy that made great stuff like Four Weddings and a Funeral, Bridget Jones's Diary, Notting Hill. There's just... I mean, this is a film that is just smartly written, well made, well acted, very believable. It could have easily been a disappointment. It could have easily been a film that just falls apart right from the get-go because there's just too many people getting involved in here. But when you have a talented writer like Richard Curtis, like, he keeps the chemistries all together. He keeps the balance together. It never feels like one story is going overboard. Everything just seems perfectly fit, and you end up being very satisfied with what you see in the film. It's a beautifully made film. It's a great movie you watch at Christmas time. Even at Valentine's Day, people watch it at Valentine's Day. I mean, yeah, I could even see that. Like, it's a film that really, it's made specifically for Christmas time, but you could watch it at any point in the year, and you would find so much value to it, regardless of what time of the year you watch it. I mean, what can I say? Hugh Grant said it best in the beginning of the film. Love Actually is all around, and all around, Love Actually is a really damn good movie. I don't think I need to say much more about it.
Oh, no. The funniest comedy of the year. What's up, Love? Practicing. The Bad Santa is achingly funny. Got some good for you. Mention these lips on your wife. Astonishingly irreverent. Last night. The man's a central thing. It's a must-see film for anyone who loves to laugh. Love blonde women. What about that, Jack? Bad Santa. It all. Now play.
Who would have thought that this would be the last movie John Ritter would ever be involved in? Because unfortunately he passed away 2 months before this movie came out, and it certainly was tragic, especially someone like me who was watching 8 Simple Rules back in the day, and to find out that the father is no longer with them and they decided to continue on. It was an interesting time for that, but he's in this movie too, but we'll get to him in just a moment. This is Bad Santa, where you have Billy Bob Thornton, who plays a convicted con man who leads a miserable life. He drinks heavily and constantly embarrasses himself publicly. He only works once a year dressed as Santa, but then come Christmas Eve, he and his tight-sized helper dwarf, played by Tony Cox, stage elaborate robberies and take the department stores for what they've got. This time around, Willie gets distracted by large women, a bartender who's attracted to Santas, played by Lauren Graham from Gilmore Girls, and a kid who's convinced he's the real deal, played by Brett Kelly. However, Marcus must once again put up with Willie's heavy drinking and series of incidences that consistently shoots him in the foot. Will Willie and Marcus make it to next Christmas, or will this be the year the dynamic duo finally faces justice? And yeah, it's about as raunchy as you can get. I mean, the title Bad Santa is very much worthy of this movie, and it's friggin' awesome, man. I love this movie so much. This is directed by Terry Zwigoff, who gave us films like Crumb and Ghost World. And it's actually a production of the Coen brothers, who actually wrote the story for this, even though they were uncredited for it. But you definitely couldn't tell by the fact that they were in this, that they were involved in this, honestly. But like I said, this movie's pretty freaking amazing, man. I love this movie so much. It is so dark. It is so raunchy. This is the definition of how to make a good raunchy comedy, and a raunchy holiday comedy too, which seems like it's an impossible task to do, but man, does this movie pull off so well. Billy Bob Thornton is just such an asshole in this movie. You can't help but love him because he's making me laugh so hard. In the beginning, when you see him in, I think in Hawaii, and he's completely going, he's like going insane. Like he's throwing, like he's getting behind the bar. The bartender's just like, "Hey, I thought I told you to get off of there." And he's just swearing at him, throwing stuff all over the place. Like when he wakes up in the morning from Christmas, he hears Christmas music. He's like so mad that he throws he's like throwing not only the alarm clock, but he's throwing all these bottles everywhere. Like you kind of feel like, you should hate this guy, but at the same time, you kind of feel like you would be in that same pathway too, if you've been doing that job for so long. And I think as a kid, it didn't really hit me, but as an adult, I think a lot of people can relate to Billy Bob Thornton's situation in this. Like, he hates the holidays so much, and has these problems, but you know what? You just got to go with it, and until you finally reach your breaking point. And this film definitely was his breaking point, but this moment in time was his breaking point. But God, Billy Bob Thornton is so funny in this movie, man. Like, he punches kids in this movie. Like, not just punches them, beats the hell out of them. And it's just like, you know, I freaking love this movie, man. This is my type of humor. Dark comedy, raunchy humor, a cast that filled with some great talents, like John Ritter, like I said, Bernie Mac, another late actor in here, like I said, Brett Kelly, Lauren Graham, Lauren Tom from King of the Hill and Futurama, Tony Cox. Just phenomenal cast, phenomenal writing, brilliant direction, just funny stuff. And, like, it's just such a great movie, man. I love it so much. Just a phenomenal film. What more can I say? I'll say this: avoid the sequel. Came out 13 years after this. Completely was a pointless sequel. Didn't have any of the same amount of raunchy humor that the first film had that made it work. And it was just a waste of time all around. Didn't even have the same people behind it. So that's already another strike against the film. But avoid Bad Santa 2. Watch Bad Santa 1, though.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas! We gotta sing Christmas tree. Tom, you take the lead?
Would it make any difference to you if I didn't want to?
Not really.
Oh, Christmas tree, you stand in woodland beauty.
It's the most wonderful time. Oh, facial ice ball!
I can't feel my toes.
Jingle belling and everyone telling you be of good cheer. Ow. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
I think Tony Soprano is pretty much everybody who sees this movie and sees how terrible Ben Affleck is. You want to hit him on the head too and wish that he was dead. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is that movie. This is the worst thing, the bottom of the barrel that Ben Affleck has ever done. Geely was one of those movies where, yeah, it was seen as one of the film that killed Ben Affleck's career, but he was at least trying in that movie to try to save it. But this is the bottom of the barrel. So he plays a wealthy Chicago ad executive who has long avoided the family traditions of Christmas, but has been dreaded being alone on the actual day. So when his tropical Christmas vacation with his girlfriend, played by Jennifer Goodwin, falls through and Missy breaks up with him in the process, a self-therapy session leads Drew to decide to relive his best childhood Christmases. With his loved ones long gone, he decides to rent a family with the Valcos, the current owners of his childhood home in suburban Chicago. Tom Valco, played by Gandolfini, wants nothing to do with Drew until an exorbitant amount of money is involved. I think it's $50,000 or something like that. They draw up a contract which expires at the end of Christmas night. What Drew doesn't or refuses to realize is that the Valcos are having their own problems with his presence exasperated. Can the Valcos endure their unexpected guests? If they can, will the money solve their problems? Meanwhile, will Drew come to realize what he wants in life and how to achieve it? And why the hell is this movie? And the biggest question of all, why the hell is this movie being released 2 weeks before Halloween? That's something I never got with this particular movie. This is apparently a movie that was in production all the way back in May of 2001. In May of 2001, Ben Affleck agreed to star in this movie when it was at Columbia Pictures. And then it shifted over to DreamWorks. Christmas movies like this don't usually take that much time to do, unless it's like a high-concept movie, like if it's the Santa Claus or Fred Claus, or, you know, these bigger budgeted movies. But does anything in this movie look big budget to you? No. Why is Ben Affleck being involved in this movie? This movie doesn't feel like a film that Ben Affleck should even be involved in with his rapport at that point. He's an Academy Award-winning actor and writer. He's written Oscar caliber stuff here. Like this is a role that should not have gone to Ben Affleck in the beginning. This should have gone to like a more comedic actor, somebody like who's a popular actor at the time. Somebody maybe like I don't know, a Ray Romano, or maybe someone from Friends, maybe a Matt LeBlanc, maybe a Matthew Perry. Like who hell. A David Hyde Pierce or Kelsey Grammer, people who were popular in sitcoms at the time. Kevin James probably could have made this work better because he was on The King of Queens. Mike O'Malley from Yesteryear, Charlie Sheen, John Cryer. I'm just naming all these better people that could be involved in this movie because Ben Affleck should not be in this role at all. This movie fails mostly because of him just having such a panic attack of a performance in this. Like, nothing about what this character does in this movie is sane. Nothing about what this character does makes any sense whatsoever. Yeah, you want to go back to where you spent your best times as a child, but you have to realize that you're interrupting a major family holiday, and you get behind the family because this guy randomly shows up, and the first thing that he does, by the way, which that trailer does not show you. As soon as Ben Affleck gets to the house, you know what he does first? He takes the piece of paper, because this is what his therapist, played by Stephen Root, tells him to do. Go to his childhood home, take a piece of paper, set it on fire, and say, "I forgive you." Now, from the backside, if you're looking at the point of view of James Gandolfini and Catherine O'Hara, this looks like somebody who's literally about to burn your house down. So, in the trailer, it makes it seem like that James Gandolfini's an asshole. No, James Gandolfini's doing what he should have done in the first place, and knocking the shit out of the guy who's about to burn his house down. And by the way, it was $250,000, not $500,000. I'm reading it off of the synopsis here. But if those problems weren't enough, you do realize that there was somebody else in that trailer that wasn't really given a whole lot of attention, except you see her in the far right in the beginning of the trailer. Yeah, Christina Applegate is in this movie, and you would have never figured it out because she doesn't show up until about 45 minutes in the movie. When I saw this movie in a theater, which, yes, me and my sister saw this in the theater on opening weekend because, why not? I mean, this is one of those rare occurrences where the whole thing makes no sense whatsoever. We had no idea that Christina Applegate was in this fucking movie until we saw the movie. That's how bad this movie is when you have somebody who was just in one of the biggest comedy hits of the year with Anchorman, and it barely mentions her, except on the poster for the movie. Like, the poster literally has her name in there, and yet she's nowhere to be found in the trailer, maybe because she realized, oh, this is a terrible movie, and I want nothing to do with it. And quite frankly, I can't imagine why anyone would want to be involved with it. But let's get to the crux of the problems with the movie. The release date. Why are they releasing this 2 weeks before Halloween? In the history of the box office, what movie has opened a Christmas movie before Halloween and has found success with it? Never. It has never happened because studios realize, the marketing department realizes that, oh wait, if we put a Christmas movie before Halloween, it won't make money over the course of the holiday season. Not DreamWorks, because, I'm willing to bet you what DreamWorks probably thought when they bought this movie. They were going to have it be like a 2003 holiday release, and then they finally saw the movie, and it's just like, oh, fuck no, we're not putting this out there. But instead of putting it out in the dumping months of January, which would make more sense, or if you want to even go down that right, do something like Christmas in July. Slam it in the middle of the big summer blockbusters and say, hey, we put it in the middle of summer blockbusters. But, no. Somebody at DreamWorks had the bright idea to say, Christmas is starting to become, we're starting to see Christmas coming into stores in the months of September, October. Why don't we go ahead and put this movie out 2 weeks before Halloween? Because, it's a genius idea when you think about it, says the DreamWorks marketing executive. I'm pretty sure Steven Spielberg, Jeffrey Katzenberg, David Geffen, they all looked at that guy and told him to get the fuck out of here after they did this because, not a shocker. The movie didn't do very well. It was in theaters for 2 weeks. It was literally out of theaters before Thanksgiving. So that was a mistake right from the get-go. And the film cost $45 million to make. Only brought back $11 million domestically. That's how horrible this movie was. that this movie was, and that's not even the worst part about it, because the funny thing about this movie in particular is that the fact that this movie did so poorly and was such a huge flop that, around this time, I should explain something here, because back in 2004, when it comes to new releases on physical media like DVD or VHS, you would usually wait about 4 to 6 months. It depends on how successful the movie was. Like, I think Shrek 2 came out in May of 2004 and didn't get a DVD release until November. Dodgeball didn't get a release on DVD until December, and even though the movie came out in June, sometimes they'll do it a little early on. Like back in the nowadays, you can kind of figure whenever a movie comes out, I think maybe 2-3 months after it comes out, and then they put it out on Blu-ray. Not back then. Usually it was 4 to 6 months, and then the time. Sometimes like Universal. Sometimes they'll put a movie out on DVD and Blu-ray 2 months after the movie came out. We just had that recently with The Fall Guy. But I bring this up because Surviving Christmas is one of those moments in history where, DreamWorks. You might not think DreamWorks is one of the big studios in general, but you've got to. I would think it's a big studio in general. So them to release a movie with a wide release like this, they released this movie not even 2 months after the movie came out in theaters. It was on DVD on December 21st, 2004. And if you want proof of that, here's the DVD. This is the original DVD release from December 21st, 2004. And I have the proof that this is indeed the date, because if you look inside of here, that's my original Walmart receipt, and look at the date on the bottom there. December 21st, 2004. I bought this because I couldn't believe that somebody had the nerve and the audacity to put this movie out on DVD less than 2 months after the movie came out in theaters. Now, for a Christmas movie in particular, usually they wait until the next Christmas season, because they usually don't make money after they come out in theaters. Nowadays, they've kind of scrapped that altogether and just put it out after a couple months, because we had that with the Grinch recently. But in the same year, Polar Express and Christmas at the Kranks came out in theaters. They waited a full year for the DVD releases of both of those movies. Not this little abomination, not this horrible piece of garbage right here. And yes, I spent $20 on the DVD for this, because at the time I didn't think, at least, what, I just had to get it for the history. But it's funny, because I bought the Blu-ray version of this when my FYE was closing down. I only spent about 77 cents. It was less than $1 for a new Blu-ray. So, but yeah, I hold on to this as a part of history, because this is one of the first times a major studio, DreamWorks Entertainment, decided the movie was so terrible and so poorly mismarketed, they decided to throw this movie into theaters 2 weeks before Halloween, and then had the balls to put this out on DVD less than 2 months later. Let's put this into perspective here. Anchorman, which came out in July of 2004, which also starred Christina Applegate, had yet to be released on DVD at this point. Anchorman, I think, came out a week later, after Christmas came out. That's how badly they screwed this whole thing up. Yeah, so if that is not enough to make you say, wow, this movie is terrible, the movie is terrible on a number of different levels. You hate Ben Affleck. You hate him for everything he does in the movie. You want to feel more for the family in this situation, but then the family ends up being scumbags too, and like, everybody in this movie is just a dick. This movie just has this uncomfortable, dark sense of feeling to it. And if it was a black comedy, I think it could. If they had already said at the beginning, yeah, it's going to be that kind of a black comedy and marketed that way, then we probably could have accepted it more. But no, that trailer was way too happy. The trailer after that was also way too happy and peppy. So yeah, they completely lied to you on that front too. This is the bottom of the barrel for Ben Affleck. This is the movie where I think he realized, after this movie came out and it flopped as badly as it did, he realized, I have to change my career. I have to figure out a way to get back in the zeitgeist again and not be this person ever again. And that's when his career started to take a rebound, because a couple years later, he would slowly but surely have that comeback, starting with that performance in Hollywoodland. And then 3 years later, he would direct his first movie, Gone Baby Gone, which is a phenomenal film. He'd follow that up with The Town a couple years later, which was a great film. And then Argo was a great film, too, won the Best Picture. So yeah, this is the low point before we get to the comeback story that is Ben Affleck. And yeah, but this was the bottom of the barrel. This movie right here, this film right here is the bottom of the barrel. Do you get it yet? You realize how bad this movie is? I think you get the point. So, yeah, I've already wasted 12 minutes of your time talking about this movie, which is more than I could say, which is probably more than anybody could really say about the movie in particular. But then again, if I had more time, I'd probably go into much greater detail about how terrible this movie is. But I've already wasted 12 minutes of your time here.
It doesn't matter where they're going. What matters is deciding to get on.
So the Polar Express, as you can tell from the trailer there, gives you kind of an idea of what the feel of the movie is. But the story is about a young boy who sees a mysterious train bound for the North Pole stop outside of his window, and is invited aboard by its conductor, played by Tom Hanks. He joins other children as they embark on a journey to visit Santa Claus, who's preparing for Christmas, and he's also trying to figure out whether or not he still believes in Santa Claus or not. And this is based off of a book by Chris Van Allsburg, who gave us Jumanji, and another movie that definitely went on to become a classic among most people, especially around the holiday season. But at the time, it was actually a film that was very, very polarizing at the time. I mean, it didn't get the best reviews from most critics, and it actually didn't do very well at the box office at first. But then again, when you have a season that includes you being sandwiched in front of behind The Incredibles, and then with the SpongeBob movie coming out the next week, yeah, chances are your expectations of making a whole lot of money wasn't really going to help you in the long run, unless you were a Christmas movie. And this was this is definitely a Christmas film. And while the box office wasn't strong at first, the film did eventually find an audience over time, especially during that holiday season. I think it opened to like $23 million domestically when it first came out, but then it eventually went on to gross over $286 million worldwide, with about $160 million of that coming from here in the U.S., so it did eventually find its audience over time. And if it didn't find it then, it was certainly going to find its audience through television. I mean, not even but 2 years after it came out, it was already being seen on TV a lot. ABC, I think, had it at first, but now you see it every year on Freeform and then on AMC. But it's a great movie. It's a really visually stunning movie to look at. It's easily the best of the motion capture Robert Zemeckis movies. This is the first one where he was trying out the motion capture concept that he would use for many of his films going forward, with stuff like Beowulf, A Christmas Carol, which I really like A Christmas Carol, and I do like Beowulf. But then he kind of went overboard with Mars Needs Moms, and that was kind of the end of that run for him. But this is definitely one of the best earlier attempts of it to show what motion capture can really do, and I think it does a pretty good job with it. I think the overall the feeling of Christmas is definitely all throughout the course of the movie. You do get behind the kid in general, the young kid in this movie, who doesn't have a name in particular, which I do kind of like that. They don't really give you the names of these kids in particular, except for one of them, which is named Billy, who's played by the kid who's also Roo from the Winnie the Pooh movies. I can't remember his name though, but Jimmy Bennett. I'm seeing it right here, but you've got characters like Hero Boy, who's also... It's weird because Josh Hutcherson does the motion capture work, but it's Daryl Sabara from Spy Kids doing the voice for him, and it's Tom Hanks who's doing like the adult voice and the motion capture work. And he does it for like several different people, including the father, the Ebenezer Scrooge puppet, the conductor, the hobo, Santa Claus. You also have a person named Hero Girl and a person named Know-It-All. Like, there are very few people in this movie that actually have names to them in general, and it's kind of a little bit of a distraction a little bit, but it doesn't really matter in the long run because the movie is giving you a very visual feel to it that really does feel impressive overall, especially if you see this on a big screen. Like, this was one of those movies that benefited from having IMAX 3D at the time, using it to really show off these incredible sequences of animation in general. Like, when they're... Like, one of the best scenes in the movie is when the conductor, the boy, and the girl, they're on the front of the train, and they're about to go on this roller coaster aspect of the train where it just starts off like going up a hill, and then as soon as it goes down, they go sliding down here, and it goes like it feels like you're on a roller coaster, and they end up sliding through an icy road, an icy waterway that eventually will break because one of the pins from the brakes accidentally falls off and hits the thing, and it just leads into some really cool animation in general. It's a really cool visual style, a visual style that's very impressive all throughout the course of the film, and you get a lot of that all over the film as well. And it does have some good heartfelt moments, like the moment when he realizes, okay, like he has to say, "I believe." Like the moment when he actually is when all the other kids see Santa Claus and he's the only one that can't see it, and one of the bells off of the reindeer fall off, and he says, I believe," and like he rings the bell, and it's just like moments like that can be fun. It can get a little bit too emotionally manipulative at times. There are moments where you can feel like they're trying to force this to become the next big Christmas classic, and yeah, it can be very distracting at times. I mean, Elf, I think, worked as eventually became a Christmas classic because movies like Elf, movies like Christmas Vacation, movies like A Christmas Story, and movies like Home Alone, they weren't really trying to force the Christmas classic onto you. They just wanted to make you feel like it was a holiday season, and it worked in those movies in particular, and you didn't really feel them forcing the holiday on you. This one definitely forces it on you, and it doesn't really ruin the ebb and flow of the film in general, but it's definitely a lot more noticeable in this particular movie. Plus, a lot of it just is really good. I love the music by Alan Silvestri. I mean, he's one of my favorite composers of all time. I mean, the song by Josh Groban, Believe, is still one of my favorite songs I like to listen to every holiday season. Like, every holiday season when this is on, I have to watch it at least once. So, it still has that lasting impact with me. It still feels like a movie that I'm glad I got to see when I saw it for the first time in theaters. And, it's a movie that has grown over time with me. It's a film that has become one of my favorite movies to watch every holiday, and it's just a terrific, fun film in general. A lot of times, but not enough for me to say it's a bad film by any means. It's still a really good Christmas movie. I really love it a lot. I can't recommend this one enough. The Polar Express. Definitely check it out this holiday season if you haven't seen it.
When their daughter left town for the holidays, the Kranks made a bold decision.
Let's skip Christmas.
Skip Christmas?
But in this neighborhood,
A lot of neighbors are pretty upset.
Christmas isn't just a tradition.
Time to put a frosty. Free frosty. We just want frosty.
It's an obsession.
The air is light.
Tim Allen, Jamie Lee Curtis. Christmas with the Kranks. Rated PG. In theaters November.
It's also a cult. I'm not even kidding. The way that people act in this town about Christmas and how it's blasphemous if you don't celebrate it in this is just unbelievable. This is the ultimate definition of a white people problems movie, and this is coming from a white person. This is one of the most unbelievably bad movies ever made. This is a film that I said last time, some people debate whether or not this is even worse than Surviving Christmas, and honestly, Surviving Christmas is bad, but this might be even worse, and that's really saying a whole lot. In this, you have Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis, who play a couple who, essentially, they decide to skip Christmas one year since their daughter is away. Their daughter, played by Julia Gonzalo, she's going off to Peru for a assignment in the Peace Corps. And, you know, they decide, let's skip Christmas, let's go to Hawaii. And, you know, in any other sense, it would make a lot of sense. I mean, the family's not there together. They don't really want to celebrate the holiday in general, so go somewhere else. Take time for yourself. Not in this neighborhood. The neighbors really hate it, and they do whatever they can by any means necessary to force Christmas down on them so hard to the point where it's literally heading into stalker territory. This is like a neighborhood that run by Fox News or anchors. I mean, it's pretty much that. Like, it's pretty much on that level. Like, if you even say, don't even say Merry Christmas and say Happy Holidays, like, you would be surprised. I would guarantee you they pull War on Christmas crap on you. But don't worry, it gets even stupider from there, because their daughter, who flies to Peru on the Sunday following Thanksgiving, and now on Christmas Eve, is calling them saying, I'm gonna fly back home for Christmas, and you know, let's make sure the party is there, and oh, by the way, I want you to meet my boyfriend, who I literally met a month ago, and we're gonna get married. That literally happens in this movie. But it gets even crazier from there, because now they have to scramble to get all the stuff together after literally alienating the whole town, which really, they're the ones that aren't the guilty party here. It's everyone else that keeps forcing their ideals on them about the fact that you can't skip Christmas, you blasphemer. But then when they need it the most, it's just like, hey, it's just like, we don't know. Like, it's like, the movie is literally, we don't know. Just, are you entertained by it? Are you sitting in the chair? Have you not gotten out of your seat yet? We got your money already, so so thank you for that. But I'm just kind of rambling on you, but you get the point. This is a horrible movie. A horrible movie with a bizarre group of people involved in here. You've got Joe Roth, the head of Revolution Studios, who directed this movie. One of the 3 films he directed, including America's Sweethearts, which, and Freedom Land, which was, meh. This is easily his worst film, though. But this is written by Chris Columbus, who gave us Home Alone, and, you know, The Goonies, and Gremlins. And this is based off of a book by John Grisham, too. At what point in any of this, did you think that this was based off of a John Grisham book? Because I could tell you, I certainly never would have figured it out. No, it's actually based off of a book called Skipping Christmas, which is one of his rare comedic novels, and I guess somebody at Sony said, you know, we got to make a movie off of this. You know, John Grisham, hey, you got to make something Christmas related, because, you know, the money's going to keep coming in with reruns on television years down the road. I mean, it's one of the reasons why movies like Deck the Hall still gets played on television, or Surviving Christmas. You know, bad Christmas movies that have the power to stay on TV for numbers of years later, because, hey, we have cable television and reruns all over the place. That's why movies like Love the Coopers still gets played on Freeform every holiday season. A movie that you didn't even know even existed until I mentioned it. But the movie is bad. Like, say what you will about the Santa Claus movies and how the quality got lower and lower with each passing film. Those movies are still much better than anything in this garbage, because as much as you hate the neighborhood for really just cramming their ideals down on these two people, the Kranks are just as bad as they are. I mean, like, not Jamie Lee Curtis in particular, but mostly Tim Allen, who's just playing essentially who Tim Allen is now, kind of an asshole. And, like, yeah, Tim Allen may have done a lot of great things in his career, playing Buzz Lightyear, you know, starring in Galaxy Quest, a lot of great movies, but you know what? The guy's kind of an asshole in real life, too, and this is, I guess, the movie, perfect casting for him, I guess, but the movie just gets really stupid. I mean, this is just an unbelievably illy put together, badly made movie that tries so hard to ripen these cheap emotional moments out of you. Like, you know, one of the characters ends up getting cancer, and they use that as a tactic for you to start crying and get tear, you know, because this could be their last Christmas together. It's just like, I don't give a crap. I don't care if it is Austin. I don't care if it is Austin. Is it Austin Pendleton? Like, I don't care if it is Austin Pendleton. No, it isn't Austin Pendleton. I'm sorry. Like, no, that's the, no, I'm thinking of, I'm thinking of Emmett Walsh. I'm sorry, Austin. I didn't mean to criticize you. Let's be honest. You're probably one of the best things about the movie, honestly. Even though you don't really have that much to do. But Emmett Walsh. I'm saying it like Emmett Walsh is a bad person, but he's not a bad person. It's just a poorly put together movie that just goes for the cheapest levels of comedy, the cheapest aspects of Christmas, and it puts this whole idea like, if you don't celebrate Christmas like everybody else is, we're going to shun you and make you regret ever wanting to live on this planet. I mean, and those cheap emotional moments are so tacky and so corny. Like, in some ways you can agree with why Tim Allen is so frustrated, because my daughter decided out of the blue 12 hours ago to just call and say, I'm coming home for Christmas. Make sure you have all the shit I want. And we have to scramble for this. Like, yeah, it makes for cheap comedy hijinks. And yeah, he's acting like an asshole about it. But you know what? You tend to agree with him because you literally just pull this rabbit out of your hat at the 11th hour. And like, the movie's just like, no, he's the bad guy. You're supposed to feel bad for, you're supposed to not feel bad for this guy. You're not supposed to feel good about this guy whatsoever. It's just like, no. Like, I understand where he's coming from. Yeah, he's naturally going to learn a lesson, and he should be upset too. Like, the fact that he had to do this over half a day. He has to go find a tree. She has to go find the hand that she wants. You know, they have to find all the decorations they, I guess, destroyed. The plot continuity makes no sense in this, but no, it gets even the side characters are badly written too. Dan Aykroyd, this is just one of his bad movies. Eric Sullivan, who plays his son, Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle, he comes off in the beginning as this, slick, smart-ass kid, and he thinks he knows everything. But then when a criminal is caught by the two police officers, played by Cheech Marin and Jake Busey, he's too stupid to figure out that the criminal is playing a con on him, and just lets him go inside of the Kranks' house and start stealing shit. Like, that's a plot point that goes nowhere. Austin Pendleton, like I mentioned before, he's this random guy who's like an umbrella salesman who somehow knows everybody, and it actually turns out to be Santa Claus. This is a plot point that comes in 20 minutes before the movie is over. 20 to 30 minutes before the movie is over, I should say. But still, like, it's frustrating for me to even think about how bad this movie is. And as bad as Surviving Christmas is, like, Surviving Christmas is a bad movie. But again, you kind of agree with what they're trying to say in that movie, like what James Gandolfini's family is feeling. Like, this random guy decides to come to our house, plans to burn the house down at first, and then makes it look like he's about to burn the house down, and then he decides, I'll pay you $50,000 to let me stay here for Christmas. I mean, there's at least more likability in the characters of Surviving Christmas than there is in this. And the more I think about it, I think I said at the beginning, Surviving Christmas was worse than Christmas with the Kranks. It really does go back and forth, because Surviving Christmas is a bad movie. But this is just inexplicably awful. This whole movie, the whole idea is, like, nothing about this movie is about what the spirit of Christmas is. It's like another bad Christmas movie we'll eventually get to with Deck the Halls, which is a movie that it's basically telling you the true spirit of Christmas isn't about family, friends, good company all around. No. It's about getting your house seen from space, because clearly when you have Christmas lights out there, everybody's house can be seen from space. I mean, who doesn't want that? Trust me, we're going to get into that abomination in about 2 years' time, but 2 years from where we're at right now. But I think I made my point here. I'm going on 10 minutes talking about how bad this movie is. Like, do I even have to say any more? Christmas with the Kranks. If it's not worse than Surviving Christmas, it's definitely one of the worst Christmas movies ever made.
You've loved them for years.
Come on, everybody. It's perfect.
You're gonna be great.
Now, see them in an all-new holiday adventure. Mickey's Twice Upon a Christmas.
Hello.
Minnie, it's me.
This is Minnie Mouse. Leave me a message and have a Merry Christmas.
This is definitely a problem.
There can only be one name for this dog. Want to hear it?
Please.
Murray. Oh.
Merry? Yeah. You know, like Merry Christmas?
Oh, my head.
Now, I know what you're thinking, and yes, some of the jokes in this movie are absolutely horrible, and the trailer was not doing it any favors, but, I don't think this is as bad as people make it out to be. Yeah, it's definitely not Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, but there's still things about it I really do enjoy about it. As you can see, just like with Once Upon a Christmas, it's an anthology film where you have 5 different stories going on here, including a mix of very short stories and very long stories. There's one story in particular where Minnie and Daisy are basically in an ice skating competition, and it's really about it. I mean, there's really not much more about that one. There's a longer story with Huey, Dewey, and Louie as they go to the North Pole to make sure they're not on the naughty list and try to put themselves on the nice list so that they go in disguise as elves. And that one's pretty good. There's another one where Max and his father Goofy are celebrating the holidays with Max's girlfriend, who is not Roxanne, which some people have had a lot of problems with. It's definitely the weakest of the stories here. That one, Christmas Maximus, is what it's called. But yeah, that's the one that, yeah, I can agree with that one. That one's probably the weakest one of the entire bunch. You have another one where Donald all he wants to do for Christmas is just sit at home, relax, and have his cappuccino or it's something like it's a coffee. It's either coffee or he just wants to sit back and have hot chocolate is what I'm thinking of. Hot chocolate is what I'm thinking of. And Daisy and Huey, Dewey, and Louie want him to go to the mall and go see the Christmas displays and all that stuff, and he just doesn't want to do that. And the last story has Mickey and Pluto in it, and Pluto runs away from home after Mickey yells at him for ruining the Christmas decorations, and Pluto essentially finds himself at the North Pole, and he teams up with Santa's reindeer. And yeah, definitely, like I said before, this is definitely not as good as the first movie. And the first movie, I think, kept it simple. You had 3 simple stories where they were very good retellings of classic tales. Like the first one was The Gift of the Magi. Second one's kind of the equivalent of Yes, Virginia. There's a Santa Claus, and the third one is the third one's The Gift of the Magi. First one is Christmas Every Day. This one just kind of goes all over the place. Some of the animation overall is good. It's not great though. It's CG animation for a direct-to-video release, and this director, Matthew O'Callaghan, who's done a lot of animation you might be familiar with. He did the Itsy Bitsy Spider. He would do the Curious George movie after this. I don't think 3D animation was really his area of expertise at this point, but I could have sworn he's done some CG since then. Yeah, he has done some CG since then. He did motion capture work for A Christmas Carol. He worked on a lot of the Looney Tunes shorts that came out in the 2010s. He did stuff for Space Jam, A New Legacy, Alvin and the Chipmunks and Road Trip. So, okay, maybe not everything he did was great, but he did get better as the time went on. And like I said, the film overall is good. It's an enjoyable film that you can pop on every time, or just wait for it to come on TV every year after Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas. I mean, it's definitely not as good as Once Upon a Christmas, but it's a fine film for what it is. I think there's a lot more to it than people let on. It's an enjoyable film. It's a really fun film in general, and like I said, definitely not as good as the first one, but good enough nonetheless. I think it's one that definitely deserves a lot more to be watched at Christmas time, so definitely check it out this year.
You don't have to be nervous.
I'm not.
They're gonna love you.
There's nothing harder than joining a family.
He intends to give that girl my mother's wedding ring.
Especially one like the Stones.
She's got this throat-clearing tick. It's like she's digging for clams.
Ready? Yeah, they're all watching,
They have a funny way of making you feel at home.
Flo, you have a lovely home.
All the better to entertain you, my dear.
Don't dilly-dally there, pretty lady. We're all going to be down here talking about you.
She is completely uptight. I am not sleeping with you in your bed, in your parents' house.
Separate bedrooms. It's so silly.
Are every married going to get married?
4 words.
Second
word. Beekeeper.
Ring.
Bride.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride. They hate me. They hate me.
He just met you. I just figured you'd give her a hard time, have a good laugh, but then back off. Meredith's checking into the inn. And now her sister Julie's giving up Christmas with her entire family in order to be with Meredith.
I'm ashamed of all of you. Even you.
Hi.
Hey. Hi.
This holiday season,
He's gonna ask me for that ring.
Mom, enough about the ring.
from the producer of Sideways.
You have a freak flag. You just don't fly it.
Uh-oh.
We will try to behave like a civilized family.
I don't care whether you like me or not.
Oh, of course you do.
Claire Danes, Diane Keaton, Rachel McAdams, Dermot Mulroney, Craig T. Nelson, Sarah Jessica Parker, and Luke Wilson. The Family Stone.
What's so great about you guys? Nothing. It's just that we're all we've got. And you're the worst. I'm the worst.
Boy.
Believe it or not, this is actually one of those movies that started a weird trend of like family-centered Christmas movies that we've been getting, family-centered holiday movies that came out over the course of the next couple of years. I mean, we talk about stuff like This Christmas, Dan in Real Life. What's another one? Nothing Like the Holidays. There's a couple of other ones too but those are the three main ones I do remember here from around this time period. But this is the one that kind of started that trend in general, and you can kind of see why it was a kind of a surprise hit when it came out, and it's an overall really enjoyable movie. You have the Christmas holiday misadventures of the Stone family in a small New England town where the eldest son, played by Dermot Mulroney, brings his uptight girlfriend, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, home with the intentions of proposing to her with a cherished heirloom ring. Overwhelmed by the hostile reception, she begs her sister, played by Claire Danes, to join her for emotional support, which triggers further complications. And I think you can kind of figure out what those complications are going to be just by looking at that trailer there. But you have a cast that includes Diane Keaton, Craig T. Nelson, Luke Wilson, Rachel McAdams, Rachel McAdams in this movie is absolutely incredible. This was a big year for her in general to show everybody that she's here and she's going to take over. And this movie just really, not just for a performance that's just so very fun, that's very funny and feels very relatable, but when this movie needs to get dramatic and involve scenes with her, she just sells it, man. Like, there's a reason why she's really taken off in the years since Mean Girls came out. And this was a year that really showed what this woman can do, and she really is the standout of the film. I think she really is the best thing about the film in general. Everybody in this movie is really good. Like, I like everybody in the family. They have this really good storyline with Diane Keaton in this movie that plays a huge emotional part of the storyline. Craig T. Nelson as the father is really good in here. Luke Wilson is very good too. I like the chemistry that he has with Sarah Jessica Parker. Claire Danes' addition in here is really nice too. I like the addition I like what she brings to the table with Dermot Mulroney, which coincidentally I remember Claire Danes was in Home for the Holidays too, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she was in Home for the Holidays in a very, very similar type of film in this, and it's a really good movie, man. Like, I think it's a really well-made film. The only real nitpicky thing I have with it is that the tonal shifts do feel like they're kind of rushing things. Like, those scenes in the trailer, like, you see them being very fun. There's scenes in the trailer, like this scene where, like, they slip on the potato salad or something, and like, it's very funny, and then all of a sudden it cuts to a very serious scene, like the scene where Rachel McAdams is just like, Sarah Jessica Parker's just like, I don't care whether you like me or not, and Rachel McAdams is just like, oh, of course you do. Immediately after this, Sarah Jessica Parker's like, fuck this shit, I'm leaving, and just starts driving away. And yeah, the tonal shifts can be a little iffy at times and move way too fast, and there are a lot of stereotypical tropes that you see in stories like this in general. I don't even want to say stereotypical tropes, but cliche tropes, if you will. Stereotypes and cliches, very different things, but a lot of cliche tropes you see on a number of different movies like this, and yeah, it can be annoying a lot of times, but for the most part, the movie is still very consistently entertaining. It works because the performances are so good in here, and when it gets emotional, a lot of the emotional moments do work very well here. The comedy can work very well too. It's just those tonal shifts that randomly happen every once in a while that just really kind of get on you real quickly. And you can definitely see the feel. This is kind of like an indie film, kind of like what Sideways was like, because this is by the producer Sideways, who's actually the director of this movie. I really like this one a lot. I think it's a very well-made film. Like I said, the only real nitpicky thing I have is the tonal shift changes that happens every once in a while, but for the most part, it's a really good movie, and one I definitely recommend checking out this holiday season. Really good film, The Family Stones.
The first clause.
Kill them.
Did that?
Change the face of the holidays.
It's the Santa Claus.
The second clause proposed a challenge.
I've got to get married?
Yes, it's Mrs. Claus.
I don't think there's a woman out there that doesn't want a piece of this.
This time, Christmas is getting Jack.
Jack Frost, you are hereby charged with attempting to upstage Santa Claus in a manner that is both willful and malicious.
Excuse me. Did you just accuse me of being skillful and delicious? I'm tired of playing second fiddle. I'm going to be Santa Claus.
Jack, you gotta let this go.
You get TV specials and the postage stamps and the army of toy-building yes-men. What do I get? A few runny noses and some dead citrus.
This holiday season, the most powerful clause of all,
The escape clause.
the escape clause,
The escape clause.
will be triggered, sending everyone back in time.
Ho, ho, ho.
Somebody's on the roof.
Hey, you! That coat belongs to me!
And it will knock one Santa out
You hit me with a shovel!
and let another slip in.
You tricked me! You're not Santa anymore. You're just a guy who smells like a cookie.
This is so wrong.
On November 3rd,
We'll call Christmas Frostmas.
the future of the holidays will be at stake.
I've done it. What have you done?
And the final chapter will begin in the greatest Santa story ever told.
I'm gonna make everything good again.
Walt Disney Pictures presents Tim Allen,
Give me a status report.
Your pants are on fire.
Yes, they are.
Martin Short,
I'm Jack Frost.
Okay, chill.
I invented chill.
Hey, Mom.
Santa Claus 3, The Escape Clause.
Ho, ho, ho!
Yeah, talking about going out on a whimper. I mean, Shrek Forever After would later do this similar storyline, but really they needed it after Shrek the Third was such a disastrous movie, and we'll get to that one a little bit, at least when we get to the next summer. But yeah, you ever seen Shrek Forever After? This was Shrek Forever After before Shrek Forever After did it. But in the movie, you have Santa Claus, once again, Scott Calvin, once again played by Tim Allen, who his wife's about to become pregnant, and he wants to bring her mother and father up there, played by Anne Margaret, and also who's the other one? Who's the father? I don't want to look it up, but I don't want to look it up. I think I have to. Damn it. Alan Arkin, good lord, Alan Arkin plays her father. Like, I should have known that, but they have to come up to the North Pole, and Santa Claus has got all these things going on. Got to deal with the parents. Got to deal with the fact that they're getting ready to have a baby. They got to get ready for Christmas. And while this is all going on, Jack Frost, played by Martin Short, uses a reverse spell on Santa Claus to basically cause him to lose the title and have Jack become Santa. And yeah, it's a wonderful life, because Scott is is stressed out because of everything going on. Of course, he's got to get ready for Christmas and all that. And yeah, it's a movie you kind of seen before, a mix of It's a Wonderful Life with the popular franchise. And needless to say, this is definitely the weakest of the three Santa Claus movies. I mean, this is one where the storyline really is just struggling to pull a narrative together, because it's a story we've seen done to death so many times before, and I'm telling you, the North Pole keeps looking cheaper and cheaper with these movies in general. Even though you can tell the budget is getting bigger and bigger with them, I've never seen a Santa Claus movie that looks so cheap like this one does. I mean, the first movie looks grand for the small budget that they had, and then the second one, it looks better on paper, but then when you see the world around, when you see it as the film goes on, it's just kind of like, yeah, they're just grasping for straws at this point, but at least that's better compared to what they do here, because, like I said, it feels much cheaper looking than the previous movies do. Now, with all that said, I actually do kind of like this movie. Kind of. It's not a good movie by any means necessary, but unlike something like Home Alone 3, which I just talked about on the Reviewing Network Talks About, it's a threequel that is trying to do something, and does have elements that do kind of work. I thought Martin Short as Jack Frost was kind of funny. I thought Martin Short can be a very funny person if you put him in the right role, and it's an interesting idea to see what would have happened if Scott had not gotten the Santa suit, and what would it be like nowadays. And yeah, stuff like that's pretty fun and all. But other than that, though, like, it goes where you think it's gonna go. It's gonna go down a path you've seen done to death so many times before. And the only other thing I would say that's kind of cool about it is seeing what they could do to put Tim Allen and Martin Short's characters in the parts of the 94, where the 94 movie is at. And even then, they're really just going the cheapest way possible, because it's not like they're really connecting with scenes that had happened beforehand. I mean, this isn't like Back to the Future Part 2, where you're literally just recreating scenes and having the characters interacting with one another. No, they're just in the background, kind of like a what do you call it? Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, or for you kids out there, The Lion King 1.5, if you will. But I guess I could say this movie isn't bad per se, but it isn't great either. Like I said, it's definitely the weakest of the Santa Claus movies. It's the one that I feel like is being made specifically because of the money, because the last one was such a big success, and of course it's Christmas time, and Disney knows that if they can pretty much make whatever they can and hopefully make a profit off of it. And it made money, but not enough to continue the series as a film series. It did continue on with the Disney Plus series, which I've seen the seasons that they had, and they're all right. They're not great. They're not bad. They're just okay for what they are. But as far as this goes, yeah, it's about as weak as you can get. But like I said, it's not a bad movie. It just feels like an unnecessary sequel. And yeah, there are times when there are things about it that could work, but not enough for me to recommend it overall. I mean, if you like the other two movies and want to watch the third one for the holiday season, it's not going to hurt you to do so, but I feel like there's so many better Christmas movie options besides the Santa Claus 3, just saying. But so let's talk about this. There's a bunch of bad Christmas movies, but this, to me, is the absolute worst of the bunch. 2006's Deck the Halls, starring Danny DeVito and Matthew Broderick. And in the film, optimist Steve Finch, played by Matthew Broderick, loves these Christmas traditions he has set up with his family and his town. As such, he has set a schedule of activities for his family starting on December 1st, and is the unofficial consultant for anything Christmas related in the town of Cloverdale, Massachusetts. During the Christmas season, the Hall moved into the house across the street from the Finches. The Halls, in general, are different in outlook and temperament than the Finches. Unlike Steve, Buddy Hall, played by Danny DeVito, scams his way through life and never follows through with anything he starts. While Kelly Finch, played by Kristen Davis, and Tia Hall, played by Kristen Chenoweth, the wives of the two, respectively, and their children begin friendships based largely on their differences, Steve and Buddy butt heads based on those differences. It begins with Buddy striving to have his house seen from outer space by decorating it as lavishly and brightly as possible. One of the results of Buddy's task is that he becomes the new go-to guy for anything Christmas-related in Cloverdale, usurping Steve's coveted position. As Steve and Buddy's open animosity grows, they may threaten the joy of Christmas for all, more specifically the families who have their own ideas of what they would like to do over the Christmas season. My God, this movie is fucking awful. I mean, just, wow, that synopsis was so unbearable, I had trouble getting through it. That's how stupid it really was. And the fact that sometimes I can't even read something that's literally right in my fucking face, but I digress. I mean, Christmas with the Kranks is a bad Christmas movie. Christmas Story 2 is a bad Christmas movie. But Deck the Halls is the prime, perfect example of how not to make a Christmas movie. For one thing, the plot makes no sense whatsoever. The whole plot is focused on getting somebody's house to be seen from space. A stupid concept already, but the fact that Buddy's next door neighbor's house can be seen from space and not his, which that's a stupid idea to begin with. Like, even after all of these lights that Buddy puts up on his house, nope, still can't be seen from space. And it's just like, do you see this right here? Like, you're telling me Like, you can't see that from a long distance. I mean, granted, yes, you can't see a house all the way from up in space when, you're out there looking at the Earth. I understand that. I'm not stupid like this movie is, but they needed to find a way to fill out an hour and a half running time, and that's all this movie is. It's just padding out the running time with stupid, shitty moments, lazy attempts at comedy, one after another, and it just keeps going and going and going. The characters are written so blandly that you feel no sympathy towards them at all. You don't feel anything for Buddy because his whole plan makes no sense, and he's such an idiot that he can't finish anything. Like, he gets a job at a car dealership, and he's apparently really good at it for some reason. He literally starts on his first day, and he's already selling a car, not just to anybody, but to the owner of the dealership. And as he puts it, and what's worse is, I paid sticker. Why can you not finish a job again? Why can't you finish anything? Oh, because we need a movie, that's right. And you don't feel for Steve at all because he's too much of an everything needs to be perfect dimwit. You can care less about his problems. He comes off as a freaking creep in this movie and just a disgusting human being in general. Well, for just some of the things that he has. It's amazing how badly written everything about this movie is. The comedy is so poorly written, it's not even funny. This whole movie literally felt like it was written within 6 minutes of shooting the film, and it just felt out like they were forced to come up with so many stupid shit solely right out of the get-go just to have this out for that year's Christmas season. I'm not even kidding. Here's a reason why this movie is so poorly put together. I remember how this movie came together, by the way. It was first announced in February of 2006, literally 2 weeks after Big Mama's House 2, directed by the same guy who directed this movie, John Weitzel, came out. That's mistake number one. The fact that this was first announced 7 months before the movie was actually released. Most movies announce 1 to 3 years up to the time they are released. The fact that this is getting made 7 months from the time that it was first announced to getting released in theaters, that's Jason Freeberg and Aaron Seltzer bullshit. That's literally half the time it took them to make Disaster Movie. Because Disaster Movie didn't exist until May of 2008. It came out that August. That's the level that this movie is at. When you have to be on the level of a Freeberg-Seltzer movie, it's just inexcusable. From the trailer alone, you can already tell that there was nothing there, but if you want to watch the movie itself, I mean, even the production value looks incredibly cheap as well. And you just have to buy so much stupid stuff all throughout the course of the movie. Like, scenes will just happen, like, Buddy's wife leaves him, and while they're having this argument, he lost his job because nobody ever told him. Nobody ever said anything before this. Like, I know there was that scene where he was in the car. He was in the owner's office saying, you got to put some more attention to your job here, and he's just like, I've got to put more attention to the lights. This stupid goal of mine that this movie exists for. It's just like, I got to finish this, and just like. If that was your example of saying that that's how you got fired, that just shows you how lazy the ideas of this movie are in general. Deck the Halls is so god-awful because it's the ultimate form of a we don't give a fuck about making a good movie, give us your money now movie. There's no smart comedy, there's no characters you root for, there's no feelings of Christmas cheer here, there's nothing. Nothing at all. The movie down the line is just downright offensive on how it thinks it's what the meaning of Christmas is. Plus, the whole idea of Danny DeVito's house can't be seen from space, but his neighbors clearly can. It's incredibly stupid. Before I even leave here, I gotta tell you how this ends, because this is such a doozy of an ending. Because, Buddy takes down all the Christmas lights, hoping that it'll magically bring back his family again. That family wants nothing to do with him. Plus, by the way, I also should mention this. His daughters are these twin, blonde models who are about the size of they're taller than Kristen Chenoweth is, and you're expecting me to believe that Danny DeVito and Kristen Chenoweth gave birth to these two ladies here. You tell me how stupid that is, and, back to what I was going to say before. So, they take down the lights, and then both of these guys have lost their families already, and so they decide, well, let's try to make things right again. So, at the hotel where everyone is at, because, everyone decides to go into this one hotel room for some reason, Buddy and Steve somehow managed to build this lane that takes them all the way from the hotel to their houses with all the Christmas lights in a matter of a couple of hours. And they set this up as like a long, long distance. If you expect me to believe that it took them less than 2 hours to build this lane from their hotel to the house, again, all bullshit. But the bullshit gets even worse from there. So they reconcile, they settle the differences, and you think the movie's going to be over, but nope. All of a sudden, the town is so invested now in having the lights being put up on the house again, because just like, no, we got to have a purpose for this. They're going to send MTV out here. Like, they're going to send MTV out to this little town in Massachusetts for this thing that completely makes no sense whatsoever, and nobody on MTV gives a shit about. I'm sorry, nobody on MTV cares about what this guy is doing per se. And this is back when MTV was losing their title as music television. It wasn't even music television anymore at that point, I don't think. But so they put the lights back on the house. They get ready to turn it on, and it's just like, it doesn't work. They short out the power. Everybody goes dark, and everybody's taking their phones out there because this is 2006. We have like the old school cell phones. There might be some of you out there who are watching this then have no idea what your cell phones used to look like back in 2006. They look like a phone you would see in your home, not like nowadays, like the cordless phone and all that type of stuff. That's what the phones back then kind of felt like. I mean, we were slowly but surely starting to get the idea that there could be so much more done with phones in general in terms of taking photos, having these apps like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all those places there. We didn't have much of that back in 2006, but that's beside the point. So everybody's putting their things up in the air like they're at a concert, because also Kristen Chenoweth is singing, because it's Kristen Chenoweth. Of course she's got to sing in the movie, and truth be told, she sings. Her singing is the best thing about the movie, and it's not that long overall. And you think the movie should end there? Everybody's just going to accept the fact that, hey, this idea is pretty stupid, but you know what? Our whole families came together. We're all having a good time on Christmas Eve. Just accept it for what it is, and then just to add one final insult of injury. So not only do they have all the cell phones with their lights hanging out, but they find a way to unplug just basically unplug the lights, replug them in again. And it's the trick that does it. The house can be seen from space now, not just with the cell phones, but with the Christmas lights too. And the movie just ends like that. It's just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, you cannot be this fucking stupid to think that people are gonna buy this. And that's how the movie ends. I'm not even joking. That's literally how the movie ends. House is seen from space. Buddy's accomplishments in life are done. Now what are you gonna do? We'll never find out, because this isn't getting a sequel anytime soon. Nobody gives a shit about this movie, and of course the filmmakers, never gave a shit about it because of how quickly they put it together. I got nothing else for you. This movie is absolutely horrible. It's a horrible movie, a pure waste of time. Deck the Halls is, bar none, the worst Christmas movie of all time, and it's the number 21 worst movie I have ever seen in my entire life.
Might as well be honest with each other. Just tell me, did you sleep with her?
Okay, I slept with her. You happy?
Did you say, am I happy?
You gotta be...
Oh God, here he comes. Oh, Jasper, what's the story with you two anyway? I'm head over heels,
Everybody, may I introduce the newly engaged Jasper Pooh?
I hate my horrible life.
Iris and Amanda are in exactly the same place.
Where do I want to go? By myself? Depressed at Christmas.
Just 6,000 miles apart.
Home exchange. We switch houses, cars, everything. Bingo. I need you to answer this. Are there any men in your town? Perfect.
See, I bet you didn't realize that this was actually a lesbian romantic comedy in disguise, and no, of course it's not. For some, that would have made this movie a lot more interesting. Or, you know what, the movie itself, I'll get to that in just a second here, but, you can tell what the plot of the movie is. Kate Winslet and Cameron Diaz stars these two lovelorn women from opposite sides of the Atlantic Ocean who, after they get heartbreak from their boyfriends, they decide to go on this home exchange to escape heartbreak during the holiday season, and they end up falling in love with these two other men in their lives, Jude Law when Cameron Diaz visits England, and Jack Black when Kate Winslet visits America. And, yeah, it's a very formulaic plot. You can kind of tell exactly where it's going to go. You can kind of tell where the story is going to go overall. But, with most romantic comedies, that's what you kind of have to expect with a movie like this. Like, the one thing that can carry the weight of the movie is the cast overall. And this is a really charming cast in this movie. Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz, Jack Black, Jude Law. The director is Nancy Meyers, who usually cannot do any wrong whatsoever. And this is another movie where she really does make it work as a whole. It's a really fun little romantic comedy that works very well. And it shows what Jack Black can do as an actor as a whole. This is a very different... It is Jack Black like we usually see him, but he's more restrained in this performance. And I think that works very well to his advances at, trying to woo Kate Winslet. And you can buy into the chemistry between Jude Law and Cameron Diaz, as well as Kate Winslet and Jack Black as a whole. And the movie overall works very well. It works because there is a lot of good talent in the cast. There's a lot of very good, funny moments in the film. There's a lot of good fun factors about the film as a whole that just make it such an enjoyable film to watch, even especially during the holiday season. And it's just a really entertaining film. It's a good comfort food movie. It's probably the best way to describe this movie. It's a good comfort food film. You can watch it. You go into it not really expecting it to blow you away or something, but you just want to watch it and just take your mind off some bad things that happen in your life, and you watch it and you feel so much better afterwards. I mean, I've watched this movie so many times on bad days, and it just really uplifted me more. It really got me back on track and saying, hey, don't give up on the world just yet. Like what Linus said at the end of A Boy Named Charlie Brown. Did you notice something, Charlie Brown? The world didn't come to an end. When I feel that way when I watch this movie. It's a very enjoyable film. It's a very good film overall. Good funny moments, a really strong cast to make it work, and a great director in Nancy Meyers. It's a really good film. I really enjoy it a lot. Definitely check it out for holiday. Comedy Unaccompanied Minors.
Due to near blizzard conditions, all flights have been canceled. On behalf of Hoover International Airport, happy holidays.
I don't want to see Santa!
Get on Santa's lap.
I don't want to!
I got unaccompanied minors!
Is this some kind of prison?
Could be worse.
My security team can handle anything that comes up.
Who's going to take care of them?
You are, Van Bork. Give me 5. I'll be in my office watching your every move on camera. Merry Christmas.
This is so not the Christmas I had in mind.
I'm getting us out of here. So who's with me?
Probably a little word of advice. If you're releasing a Christmas movie after Thanksgiving, 9 times out of 10, it's not a good movie per se. We've had a couple of exceptions. I mean, last week we looked at The Nativity Story, which is a really good film. But here's an example of one of the many reasons why most Christmas movies do not do well after December. And I forgot The Muppet Christmas Carol also came out after Thanksgiving. So 2 movies in particular that are perfect examples of how to do it the right way with Muppet Christmas Carol and Nativity Story. This one, not so much. Spencer and his little sister Catherine are flying to Pennsylvania to be with their dad for Christmas. During a layover, a blizzard moves in and cancels all flights out of Hoover International Airport. They must stay in the basement room with other unaccompanied minors. Spencer and 4 others, a chubby boy, a nonstop talker, a surly girl, and a rich kid go AWOL and get in trouble with Mr. Porter, the Christmas-hating airport supervisor, played by Louis Black, because why not typecast Louis Black in a movie like this? I guess they were really trying to push him this year. This is like the 3rd film I've seen him in 2006. They spend the night evading and enduring his punishments, discovering all sorts of things in back rooms, making sure Catherine gets his visit from her visit with Santa, and finding a new kind of family among themselves. And yeah, this is a pretty dumb movie as a whole. This is really not a good film. This is about as generic of a kids movie as you can get, and one that's not even a good kids movie. One that's clearly written by people who have no idea what the kids of 2006 really think is entertainment, and just write whatever they feel like, whatever they think the kids of 2006 would think is funny. And yeah, you can see it throughout that trailer. I mean, the kid burping and everybody just clapping their hands, like, that's the style of comedy we got here in this movie. And this has also got a lot of names to it, too, you know. Not just Louis Black, but you see Wilmer Valderrama, Kelso from that... No, not Fez from That 70s Show. Tyler James Williams from Everybody Hates Chris. Brett Kelly from Bad Santa. I mean, a lot of notable names in this movie, but they're not really given a whole lot to do here in particular. And the film just isn't funny at all. It's a boring movie, man. Like, there is just nothing of value in this film whatsoever. This isn't like Deck the Halls, where everything about it is just so awful. There is a possibility for a good movie here. There's a lot of ideas you could do here that could work. And as we've seen later on down the road, Paul Feig will find his true calling in filmmaking and make a lot of really good films. But this is definitely one of those movies that feels like he was kind of lost in the shuffle, didn't know how to make a proper film in general that could work as a whole, and the end result speaks for itself. It's a film that is really lazy. It's not funny or clever, and it just feels more like a bore than a watch that people should go out and see around the holidays. It just feels like a film that was clearly made to just get it out there because they know it's going to make quick money because it's going to be playing on TV for the next 20 years. And sure enough, it's playing on TV this year. I think on either Freeform or AMC. It's one of the 2 years. It's usually it's 1 year or the other. 1 year it'll be AMC. The next year it'll be Freeform. Like, it'll be on one of those years. But that's the movie. That's what I feel like the movie's only reason for existence is because they know it's going to be playing every year, and these people probably have never seen this movie since then because there's not really nothing in here that makes this movie memorable by any means necessary. Like, bad movie overall. What more can you say? Unaccompanied minors. But hey, it's better than Deck the Halls, so there's that, I guess.
Some people have expressed outrage.
Is that Santa's reindeer?
Over a Christmas movie that is this violent, this disturbing, and this raw. Our answer is, you haven't seen anything yet. Black Christmas. Rated R. Everywhere Christmas Day.
Oh, Harvey Weinstein, you smug son of a bitch. You really thought that people were going to be suckered into this movie, and, not surprisingly, the film did not do very well. And, really, it's not that hard to see why, but I'll give it this. It's certainly a lot better than that god-awful Blumhouse 2019 Me Too remake they did. I mean, that one is just... Oh, that one is just a bad on so many levels. But this... Well, let's look at the plot of it. You have a film that takes place several days before Christmas and tells the story of a group of sorority sisters who are stalked and murdered in their house during a winter storm. And this is produced by Glenn Morgan and James Wong. Of course, they worked on the X-Files. They did the Final Destination movies. So there is good talent involved in here. I mean, there's a good cast involved in here, too. Michelle Trachtenberg, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Lacey Chabert, Andrea Martin's in here as well. So there is good talent in the film. And it's not a bad idea to remake this movie, but yeah, you're remaking a Christmas horror movie that was controversial back in the day, and even had controversy on this day, is when this came out, but even then, like, was there really a need for a controversy for this? Because anybody could look at this movie and realize there's no way this is making any money, especially if it's opening on Christmas Day, which, I mean, this feels like a move where they just dumped it out there because they knew this was not going to make any money, per se. Like, if this was a direct-to-video movie or a streaming film, I think this would have found much more success, and, you know, hey, people could just turn it off if they don't really like it all that much, and don't have to go out there being like, oh, this movie is so offensive, and, like, even though we're not paying attention to the fact that it's literally marketed as a horror film. Yeah, but it's just like, yeah, but with all that said, though, the film isn't great at all. I mean, it's a lousy movie. It really falls into the same predictable scenario we've seen with many other slasher films of the day. Like, it's not doing anything newer that the original film didn't do that was done much better. Yeah, it's in a modern setting. You've got these younger ladies in here who are clearly more than over college age, per se. But, hey, they're in here, they're good looking, and yeah, this is the type of film that really should not have been put out around Christmas Day, or even put out in theaters the way it was. Like, there's really nothing about this movie that makes it worth it in the end. None of the kills are really that interesting. You don't really give a shit about any of these characters whatsoever. Yeah, the violence, yeah, it's just there to be violence for the sake of violence, because we're in the age of Saw and Hostel. That's the new norm for slasher films, and yeah, people were not stupid enough to go see this movie and make it a success. It came and went, crashed and burned at the box office, and was largely forgotten for many, many years afterwards. But yeah, like I said, it's at least better than the remake that came after it, which really isn't saying a whole lot, but I gotta give it that. But, yeah, other than that, though, there's not much more you can really say about this movie that hasn't already been said already. It's not a great movie by any means necessary. It's a forgettable film.
Ah, jeez. Jesus Louise. You steal Christmas one year and then they're all after you. So anyway, that's going to do it for this special holiday special here, Time About the Christmas 2. I want to thank everybody for watching this video. And if you like what you saw, please hit the like button, subscribe button, and the notification button, because you get updates on when new videos come out and we post every day. So from all of us to all of you, from your loyal Grinch right here, I wish you all the best holiday seasons this year. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Happy holidays, everybody. Bye-bye.